5 ways in which the nation of Kenya is able to turn around the economy in a period of less than 5 to 7 years, double their GDP, and avert the current economic crisis. Welcome to Vasto Global, and at Vasto Global we say we are transforming nations. Now, the current economy of Kenya, and as per the previous GDP in the year 2023 to 2024, it was roughly 108 to 120 billion US dollars. That translates roughly to 12 to 13 trillion Kenya shillings. So what is it as a nation we are able to do to turn around that situation, create much more needed jobs, high-paying jobs, and still remain globally competitive? Welcome and journey with us. In our conversation today, we shall be considering what other nations have done. You may need to go to our previous videos and see how we were able to demonstrate how Japan was able to turn around their situation, double their income within a period of 7 years. In fact, for Japan, they were able to triple their GDP from roughly around 80 billion US dollars to 236 billion US dollars within a period of less than 7 years. Others have done it, and I believe if as a nation we are serious enough, we are able to achieve that. Let's see some of the practical examples that we are able to undertake as a nation. Number one, in all the proposals that we shall be proposing, in 5 of them, is that how to deal with the issue of corruption in each sector. So journey with us, be part of this journey. We've said at Vasto Global, we are here transforming nations, and this is where vision meets execution. Let's journey together. Number one is the reforms in the agricultural sector. That's what we call agriculture modernization and agribusiness. Now, governments have tried to do certain things in this space, but they've not been fully transformational. So what should be done? In this area, more than 60% of Kenyans are employed or depend on agriculture. So this is the backbone of Kenyan economy, and we need radical changes in this area. Some of the things that we need to do, we need to boost productivity in this area and value addition. What do I mean? We need to provide the subsidies that are needed and eliminate the corruption that is related in this area. Recently, we saw what was infamous, the fertilizer scandal. Those are some of the things that needs to be addressed. Other things that we need to do is to bring in reforms in the area of value addition. It's a high time we give ourselves a period of not more than 3 years to ensure that we no longer export raw agricultural products. We need to do a lot of value addition. I'll pick one sector, for example. Let's take the coffee sector. So we know that Kenya produces some high quality coffee that can compare to other sectors or other nations within the globe. However, the coffee that we export are the beans. So the blending is done in other countries. The value addition is done in other countries. Then we end up importing the same coffee for consumption. So meaning we export many jobs elsewhere. Not only so, we also empower those other economies. It's a high time as a nation we came up with serious ways of ensuring that the produces that we have in this nation, value addition is done here, more money is produced in here, and more jobs are created. Now, in the area of subsidies, we not only need to subsidize the farmers, but also the value addition along the chain to ensure that everybody who touches the agricultural products, they are adding value within that chain. And that alone is able to produce a lot that this nation is needed. Again, that does not require a lot of time. Within a period of less than 2 to 3 years, we are able to achieve that. Now, we told you in our conversation, we shall be proposing practical anti-corruption measures that can ensure that is a reality. So in the agricultural sector, we are proposing a few. Number one is land reforms to ensure that places that have been designated as agricultural, they cannot be used for alternative purposes. It's a high time that we ensure that this nation is able to produce. We also need to ensure there is mechanization, and we need to ensure that our value addition is top-notch. The next issue is to digitize our land. I know we've gotten to digital land registries and all that, but it's a high time we are able to deter corruption around land grabbing and others. The next issue is to publish all public procurements that are related to agriculture. We need to know which vendor is doing what work, what do we expect as Kenyans, and how are we able to gauge their success. And in case there is corruption, how should we deal with the people perpetrating the same? Now, downstream this conversation, we shall be seeing the radical measures that we are proposing in the area of corruption. Now, the second issue that this nation needs to urgently address is the area of manufacturing and industrialization. Let me tell you, the issue of special economic zones, it's a high time that we take it seriously. I know there were discussions around Konza City, which is still at the horizontal level. Nothing much has come out of that. Let me give you a case study. There is what we call the Jebel Ali Free Zone in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai. That one special economic zone employs more than 160,000 people. That one special economic zone has a GDP bigger than Kenya. In 2023, Jebel Ali Free Zone had a GDP of 160 billion US dollars. Now, the entire country of Kenya had a GDP of less than 120 billion US dollars. What does that tell you? Just assume Kenya had many more in that space. Of course, we need to make Kenya competitive. So these are the interventions that we are saying that the government needs to institute as a matter of urgency. Number one, in the special economic zones, we need to come up with better tax incentives, including profit repatriation, the ownership. We need also to have what we call global campaigns to make Kenya a destination. We also need to eliminate the corruption that is related to investors. We need to boost the investors' confidence in Kenya. Now, currently, manufacturing only contributes close to 7% of our GDP. However, this has the potential of getting to more than 20 to 30%. And this is where real transformation is. This is where real transformation is. I've given you the case study of Jebel Ali Free Zone, that one special economic zone is able to have a GDP bigger than this nation. So what if we had many? What if we were serious about it? What if we eliminated the corruption that is related to that? Now, we also need to make major reforms within the Can Invest Authority to ensure that we are able to attract the best companies. I can tell you, more than 100 Fortune 500 companies have set up base in the Jebel Ali Free Zone. And these companies, they must be willing and they are ready to come to Africa. It's a high time we make Kenya. It's a high time we make Nairobi to be the hub of Africa. Others have done it within a less period, and this nation is able to do the same. Let's move on. Number 3, as a strategic issue that the nation needs to address, is the issue of digital economy and tech-driven services. Now, these services is the future. Technology is the future. Now, Kenya needs to make itself to be the Singapore of Africa. Kenya needs to make itself to be the Japan of Africa. And Kenya needs to make itself to be the India of Africa in the area where we call business process outsourcing, or the BPO. Many companies are looking for more competitive places to operate from. And it's a high time, within a period of less than 3 years, that Kenya we are able to achieve this. In our previous video, we shared how Singapore was able to transform their country. And one of the things, Singapore does not have natural resources, but they believed their brains was one of their most valuable natural resources. Now, just like Singapore, Kenya has top brains. Kenyans are smart people. Kenyans are hardworking people. Kenyans are diligent people. Kenyans are ready to transform their country. And this is what we need to tap on. This is what we need to tap on and revolutionize this nation to make it a global powerhouse. We need to make Kenya a global powerhouse. Now, what are some of the policies that we need to have immediately? Number 1 is the expansion of the optic cable. Now, in the current government, there has been an initiative to ensure that the fiber optic cable has gone to almost every county in this nation in what they are calling the digital superhighway. However, are we practical about it? However, are we serious about it? Have we eliminated the corruption that is related to this space? That's a conversation that we need to have. The next thing, we need to have what we call digital services exports, so that people can be able to use Kenya to operate their companies elsewhere. Talk of call centers, talk of coding hubs, talk of AI labs. It's a high time this nation within a period of 2 to 3 years that is realized. The next thing, we need to have reforms within our education system. Now, it's good news that we have the CBC that has come on board. However, CBC started from the bottom. By the time we realize the full benefits of CBC, it's not less than 7-8 years from today. It's a high time that the government came up with an accelerated program in the areas of STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The people who are leaving universities and colleges, the TVETs, the people who are in employment, it's a high time we came up with a program to ensure that they are able to operate at the best global level. I believe if we did that within a period of less than 2 to 3 years, it's possible. In one of our models, Vostok Global had identified 15 critical industries that will shape the globe in the next 10 to 20 years and will remain relevant even to 100 years. And that alone, if implemented, we are able to double our GDP from 13 trillion Kenya shillings to more than 26 trillion Kenya shillings and create more than 4 million high-paying jobs, respectable jobs. Other nations have done it. It's doable in Kenya. All we need is to put our hands on the deck. The next issue, infrastructure-led growth and urban development. Now, we cannot overemphasize the role of infrastructure in transforming a nation. It's a high time in Kenya we need to have world-class infrastructure. Now, the problem with this space is corruption, because infrastructure is expensive. Infrastructure attracts a lot of malpractices. I want to share with you one of most interesting cases about Singapore. You see, in 1963, there was a comparison that Kenya, we were more richer than Singapore. In fact, our GDP in 1963 was 930 million US dollars, whereas the GDP of Singapore was 920, meaning we were 10 million US dollars richer than Singapore. Today, their GDP is 4 times bigger than Kenya. What did they do? Let me share an example. In 1980, when Singapore was at the height of the infrastructure development and revolution, there came up a scandal. Their Minister of National Planning and Development was involved in a scandal, including tenders and favoritism. Now, that issue came to be known in 1986. Now, the minister approached the Prime Minister then, Lee Kuan Yew, trying to seek an amicable way of resolving the issue. Now, in his memoirs, Lee Kuan Yew said, in Singapore, they only have one law that applies to everybody. One law that applies to everybody. And he told his minister he has to face the law of the land as is. Now, the minister was so ashamed that he committed suicide. In his suicide note, he said, I feel that I failed Singaporeans. It's a high time we make corruption in Kenya a high-risk, low-return venture. Let me give an example because I need to dwell here a bit. Do you know the fight against narcotics has been made a high-risk, low-return venture to a level where there are certain nations, mostly in the east part of the world, if you are involved in any narcotics trafficking, it's equivalent to life imprisonment or even death. And they are very serious about it. So anybody trying to tempt anyone on that trade, definitely, you know the consequences. It's a high time any nation makes corruption a high risk, low return venture. Let's proceed. It's a high time in the area of infrastructure. We need to see better airports coming up, better railway, modernizing the transport movement within the cities, mostly in Nairobi. It's a high time we need to have a tram. It's possible to achieve one within a period of less than 2 years. We need to have public roads, highways made to the level that they should be. And it's doable. Other nations have done it, and I believe Kenya is able to do it. Now, the issue of corruption in this area, we need to be very, very firm about it. We cannot afford to lose a shilling on corruption in this area. And there needs to be dire consequences. Now, after the infrastructure and urban development, we need to move on to radical governance and anti-corruption overhaul. Now, we can dwell here the entire year. This is where I believe our problem is. Radical governance and anti-corruption overhaul. Number one, we need to dissociate the fight against corruption from politics and national leadership. We need to have a watchdog that is able to audit any arm of the government, including the executive, even if the president is sitting at that point in time. We cannot afford to have the nation being ruined while we watch. The other thing I want to challenge you. Sometimes back, the former president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, said that this nation loses close to 2 billion shillings daily on corruption-related leakages. That alone, in a year, translates to close to 738 billion Kenya shillings. Do you know the foreign direct investment of this country in the years around 2021 to 2022 was equivalent to what we lose in corruption? What does that tell you? That if we seal those loopholes and we be firm about it, this nation can change. Others have done it, and I believe my motherland, Kenya, can do it. Now, we need to have reforms in the Anti-Corruption Commission. It's a high time we have it as an independent arm reporting directly to the people, with the powers to prosecute any individual. And we make corruption a high risk, a low return venture. Now, this video, it will not sit very well with some of the corrupt individuals within any nation. That is expected. However, it's a conversation that we need to have. And again, though an uncomfortable truth, we need to have it. Now, we need to empower the office of the Director of Public Prosecution and the judiciary. We need to have a nation where we have the rule of law being followed. That must be a minimum thing to be achieved if this nation has to change. Now, we need to have a whistleblower policy. The people who whistleblow, they need to be treated as national heroes. It's a high time the nation of Kenya says no more to corruption. Others have done it, it's doable. And it does not matter which government comes in. Kenyans, listen to me. It does not matter which nation or which government comes in. As long as we've not addressed the issue of corruption seriously, we shall keep on mark-timing at the same position. Let's proceed. If all those things were done, number one, agriculture would grow at an average of between 2 to 3% annually, meaning in 7 years, that would have grown to close to 14%. In the issue of manufacturing, it would grow between 3 to 5% annually, meaning within less than a period of 5 years, would have gotten to 20%. Tech and digital, if it grew by a percentage of between 2 to 5%, it would mean within that period, the same has grown close to 20 to 30%. Corruption-related leakages, if you were to seal that, it would improve the foreign direct investment and a lot of savings on the projects that we are currently doing. Now, we've said Kenya must change. And this is a conversation that we are having. At Vasto Global, we believe we are here to transform nations. We've said we are apolitical. We do not favor any side. Always say nations are able to change their fortunes. We are always ready to work with any leader. We are always ready to work with any individual who is willing and ready to walk this talk. Welcome to Vasto Global. Again, we've said it's doable. Other nations have done it. And I believe Kenya or any other nation is able to do this. We are available for conversation and we would like to invite you to follow our pages. We would like you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and see other content that we've created on how any nation can be transformed, how your organization can be transformed. Again, this is Vasto Global, where we say we are transforming nations, and this is where vision meets execution. Welcome. Let's transform the world together. Thank you.